historically had, for example, citizens review commissions to review police. We have one here in Austin. In my view, it does not really do the job that it should. It's too captured by the police. You need something more like a grand jury, which sits for limited periods of time and can't be captured by the subject that is supposed to be supervising. So these commissions need to serve for short periods of time, be randomly selected so that they can't be captured by the interests that they're trying to supervise.
And then that made me think of one more question. Let's say you pull your 23 out of this pool of 230. Once those 23 have served, do you take them out of the pool and finish through all the rest, rotate through all the rest, or do you put them back in after their service and take the chance that they could be chosen a second time?
Well, that's a detail to be worked out. What I would suggest is that they be put back in the pool after, say, 2 years or 3 years or something like that.
Right.
The way the people are put back in the jury pool for trial juries. That way there's a chance they could be called again, but you're not overburdening them with having to serve too often or for too long.
Right. That's it for right now until you give me some more details on what you have prepared.
Okay, well, let's discuss some of the dynamics that I would hope to emerge from all this. There's a real need, of course you and I have worked on the State Board of Education, trying to reform things there, and we perhaps ought to discuss that a little bit. You testified, I testified. I found that there is no course in American history up to 1877 beyond grade 8. It's taught in grade 8 and not again. There's a course in American history from 1877 to the present, taught in grade 11, but there's a 3-year gap. And in my view, that won't work. Kids at grade 8, are not mature enough to assimilate American history from that period. Now, it doesn't hurt to present it to them, but they should get it again in grade 11. When I went to public school back in the 50s and up to 1962, we had world history in grade 10, American history all the way from the beginning to the end in grade 11, and American government in grade 12. Now that worked pretty well. Kids were beginning to become mature enough in grade 10, at least enough for world history, and by grade 11 and 12 they were ready for American history and government. The most important period in American history is the period before 1877.
Right.
That's when they can expect to learn most of what they'll need for American government, which under the current scheme is taught in grade 11. You cannot really teach American government if you also don't teach American history before 1877. They won't understand it.
Yeah.
So the Texas education system has gotten messed up. I have urged the creation, I wrote the TEKS for a grade 11 American history through up to 1877, proposed it to the board, and I'm now trying to rally support among my friends and neighbors to put pressure on the board to adopt it. They have a chance to do that in March. So if you know of anyone that you can mobilize to join in this effort, please do so. It is not too late. They have the proposal before them. They meet in March, and there's no reason why they can't adopt it at that time.
But when you say get involved, what should people do? Do they need to call a particular person? Do they need to send letters? What should they do?
Well, first of all, of course, they should contact their own member of the State Board of Education.
Do you know where people can find that?
That's available online. Just do a web search on Texas Board of Education. You can find it all there. You'll find in particular the phone numbers. You can call and ask who is your member. And eventually you can figure it out. But then you also need to contact your friends and neighbors to urge them to join in the effort. One voice is not enough. You need to get 20, 30, 40 people on each member of the board. And if each member of the board got 20, 30, 40 people, that could be enough to get them to adopt it. Especially since a lot of the members of the board already seemed receptive to the idea when I presented it, at least based on the looks on their faces. Now, I didn't get any questions. I was hoping for questions, but usually they ask me questions. By this time, I think they're beginning to get kind of used to me. But it is time for everybody who views this video to get active. You don't have much time, and keep in mind that you're not just doing this for Texas, because if Texas adopts American history up to 1877 for grade 11, it's going to dictate the textbooks for the entire country. So you're not just doing it for Texas, you're doing it for the United States. Because I found in researching it that most other states are also not teaching American history in grade 11 or 10 or 11 or 12. They're teaching it only up to grade 8. So this is a nationwide problem, and we can fix it here in Texas. It'll take a few years for the change to propagate, but we can make a huge difference if we get on the ball. So all you folks listening to this video, watching this video, the ball's in your court. We need your help, so get on with it.
Great. What else should we talk about for State Board of Education?
Well, I also modified ethics for American government to strengthen it. It needed a lot of strengthening. There was a review panel which did some strengthening, but not enough from my viewpoint. Too many people have been going to the state board saying they want, this or that or the other. The reality is that the only testimony that seems to do any good is when people actually come in and make changes, propose changes to the TEKS.